Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Jim. Welcome back to my channel. We are going to continue the actual play of Captain's Log tonight. This is the first episode of my series. I haven't come up with a series title yet. Still kind of waiting to see how it shakes out a little bit. I think tonight will help me determine kind of what that direction should be. And then I've also got the first mission getting underway here, and so I wanted to kind of pull this together. Initially, I thought I would write all this up based on the last session that we conducted, and provide it online, have you look at it, read it, and then I would continue on. But as I was starting to pull together the notes for this session, based on the results that we had in part 3, I realized that there was some additional detail I needed to add in terms of just some questions that need to be answered, some names that needed to be generated, etc. And so instead of just doing that offline independently, I thought it would be more valuable to actually talk through it all step by step, just as if I was sitting next to you while you were playing Captain's Log and having to go through all the different details, start doing this world building, start adding this context and these flavor details to really start building out your narrative. Now, what you're going to see here is just what I'm doing. I don't, you're certainly not expected or required to go into this level of writing detail if you don't want to. But as a journaling game, as a writing exercise, etc., I think there's an opportunity here for you to stretch your wings a little bit, try some creative writing, or some, I guess, guided creative writing. Using Captain's Log as a tool to help you to build that narrative. So anyway, I think we can just jump right into it here. So I'll just tell you what I've been up to, and then we can start rolling some dice and taking a look at the Captain's Log tables and charts and whatnot in order to start filling in the blanks here. So what I did, of course, I'm using Scrivener. That is my preferred writing tool for compiling drafts and getting things ready for indie publishing, etc. I think it's a great tool. It's got some amazing functionality built into it. And it's just, what I like to use. You might be using Google Docs, or you might be using Word, you might be using some other program or application, whatever works for you to get the words out of your head onto the page. That's whatever's working for you, do that. Don't go use something else just because. Whatever works for you is how you get those words onto the page. And if you're a professional writer or you're an aspiring writer, the most important thing is to get those words out of your head and onto the page, because you can't edit something that's not, in a format that you can manipulate. Like, you can have it all in your head, but until you're actually writing it down, that's the step to start being an actual, professional, or not even professional writer, but just a writer. Because what does a writer do? A writer writes, and not writing is not conducive to writing, obviously. All right. Anyway, so let's talk about this first episode here. So, of course, in the last couple of sessions, we've built the character, we've built the ship. I'm looking at page. Let me pull this up here. This is page 184 in Captain's Log. This is the full chart of how to get started. Shows you the steps. Just quick recap: create your character, create your ship, select your mission type by rolling on the tables, generate incident, theme, advantages, and complications as appropriate. Roll your first encounter. We did that last time. We rolled our encounter. Generate any people, places, and things related to your mission, to the encounter, etc. Just to start building in those details. We did a lot of that last time, and what I've discovered is transitioning from step 5 to step 6. Step 6 is writing your Captain's Log, based on that information that you've gotten in steps 2 through 5. I realized that there's more detail that I wanted to add that I wanted to add to this, and I made the conscious choice to not just do that offline, because I wanted to have an opportunity to have you all with me on the journey here, so to speak, just to give you the best opportunity that you can see how this thing actually gets built out as you go, using the tool as much as possible. So anyway, and then we'll start into to step 7, which is actually starting to play. So what I've got here then is I've written out the captain, or not the captain's log, but the first officer's log, because of course Commander Whitey is the first officer of the ship. He's not the they are not the captain, and so I took all that information that we had pulled last time, and I put together the captain's log. So you may not be able to read this on your screen. I'll go ahead and read it out briefly. At some point, I'm going to post all this stuff online. I applied for a spot in the website called Archive of Our Own, AO3, because I've gotten good information from people online saying that that's the right one. Not the right one, but it's a good one to go with, and it's different than WADPAT. It's different than some other of the systems that are out there, and so I went with it. But I did not realize that when you go in there to create an account, there's actually a waiting list. And the waiting list is approximately a week before they can actually open up an account for me. So I'm going to wait. I'm going to keep using Scrivener to compile my notes one way or the other anyway, because I think I would be using Scrivener to compile the notes and then to write the draft. And then from there, once I'm happy with the draft, I'll cut and paste it and I'll put it onto archive of our own at some point, in the coming weeks. I'm not in a rush to do that right now. Right now I'm just working on the story, and once I clean it up a little bit, then I'll post it for all to share, and then go on to episode 2 someday. But anyway, let's get this first episode done first. let's get it started first, right? Anyway, so here's the first officer's log. So episode 1, title to be determined. I don't have enough information right now to really have a good sense of what kind of episode title this could be. So I'm waiting to see how the first couple of scenes shake out here, and then I might have a better sense of like where is this going and what's the actual through line, right? I mean, we do have a first contact or a second contact mission, but we've also got this crisis that's happening. So let's just go through this here, shall we? So first officer's log, stardate 3421.3. The Yiso Yon and crew have been diverted from their XXX mission. So this is the mission. This is something I did not determine in the first couple of playthroughs or play sessions, is that I know what the first mission is for this first episode, but like what is the ship actually mandated to do? Are they on a border patrol? Are they on rescue operations? Like what is the ship actually doing out there in space? And once I've got that established, that might help me establish what the series title is, because if they're just gallivanting about, that's one thing, but so I wanted to get a little bit more insight into like what is the mission here. So I'm going to go scrolling through into the probability matrices here, and what I will do is keep going a little bit. We're looking for the first appendix, and where is it? I should have had the page numbers written down. Generating mission, generating conflict, generation mission type 257. Yeah, I think that'll work. Okay. That'll work. So this is the overall mission that the ship is responsible for. This is the story that we're telling. Given my character and the ship capabilities, I was thinking this would probably be like a Pathfinder, R&D type of thing. So looking at this, we could say it could be defense, it could be patrol, it could be espionage. I mean, a lot of these fit the general sense of the general parameters of the ship capabilities and my character, right? If we were to look at the captain's log, or if we were to look at the character sheet, we got our capabilities, and then we got the ship's capabilities. Let's just see what we come up with here. So I've got my D20. I'm going to roll my D20 here, and let's just see what we come up with. So I rolled a 9, and that is predominantly medical. Okay, I'm okay with that. So let me go back to my series notes here, and the ship's overall mission is of medical nature, and it just so happens that there is a medical chart that we can roll on to get more detail. So and this is different from aid and relief, so there it is, medical, and we're going to take a look at this. Let's see what we've got on this one here. I rolled a 14. Plague on an alien ship or station. Okay, that's not really quite what I want to go with. We're talking the broader point of the campaign here, and I think fighting a plague on a ship or a station is not big enough for a whole series. That's a great episode idea. But let's see, is there anything in here that's really appropriate for an overall series? Probably not. That may not be the point of all right, well, let's take a look at the aid and relief, maybe. Are there any options here that might work? No, not really. Okay, well, let me cogitate on that a bit. We'll just think about what kind of overall ship missions could it be medically related to. I'm not actually in love with that, to be honest with you. Now that I've gotten some time with it, I've established it a little bit. If we're on a medical ship, why are we doing a second contact? I guess I can see the reasoning, but medical evac of neutral zone. Yeah, I can play with this and think about it. I think medical evac help, etc. And maybe this is just an emergency. All right. Anyway, let's go with that. Won't spend too much time on it right now. Anyway, so from there, from our medical support mission, I'm just going to leave that highlighted for now. I'll fix it later. From our medical support mission to conduct an important second contact mission with the Ufuhavid, an independent warp-capable species. The crew of the USS Potemkin encountered the Ufuhavid some years ago before the war and made enough of an impression that the Ufuhavid have reached out again, this time to request a trade agreement with the Federation. Their culture exists entirely on a single immense living vessel which produces more viable seedlings than they could ever possibly need to feed their own. Given that much of the Federation is still resource poor following the war, it is critical that we secure this agreement. So this is tying in all those different elements that we built in the last episode, or the last part of this of actual play. And so clearly, we've got we're opening it up here. This is the whole point of this first mission: is we are going to a second contact. And there's a reason, because they have an abundance of food. This is post Klingon War, end of Discovery Season 1. So this is post-war. The Federation was on its knees during the fight with the Klingons. We are now in a recovery mode, rebuilding recovery, and one of the critical elements that the Federation needs is food and supplies to feed the citizens in order to start rebuilding and recovering. So that's the overall first officer's log, setting up this first episode. Then we get into the narrative, just building off of what I had rolled last session, and then just adding some texture and detail to it. But again, this is where I get into the weeds here a little bit, and I started needing names, and I need races or species of some of these supporting characters. So I'll just read through this quickly. So, Commander Woody tugged at their chin whiskers with one paw as they frowned at the sensor data the Yiso Yon's chief science officer, Lieutenant X, had handed them 5 minutes ago. Woody had skimmed their report twice, analyzing the data in order to establish their line of questioning. So let's take a look at names here. We'll pull up that name chart, which is down in here a bit. And actually, while I've got the name chart up, I'm just going to generate a whole bunch of names, because there's several officers on the bridge, of course, with Woody, and all those officers need a name. So I'm going to pull up the name generator right there. Hopefully you can see that handy dandy thing right there in front of you. And just for what it's worth, I'm also keeping an eye on the time. I do not want to make this another long video, so I'm trying to hit the half-hour mark, so that I can keep things moving along, and keep these from being too overwhelming. Because I think the first 3 were each like 40 minutes plus or something, and I'd like to be moving through this just a little bit faster. Even though all this detail is fabulous and fantastic. All right, so name generator. So I need a name for the lieutenant. And actually, in conjunction with that, let me make a note here. So the name generator is on page 315. So let me make a note here. Names on 315, and I want to go back to the species generator, which is on like 125, I think. Maybe a little further. Nope, further back. Go back. Here we go. And we know that we are in the original series era. So it could be Enterprise era or original species era. Those two tables just happen to be right here next to each other. So I'm going to roll a d20. First thing we're going to do is Lieutenant name. Actually, there's several characters that we need species for, just for the sake of discussion. So I'm going to just start rolling here. So Lieutenant X is a I rolled a 9, so we're looking at either a Klingon or a Edosian. Well, Klingons are not part of the Federation yet. It doesn't make sense for them to be Klingon, so I'm going to put in parentheses, this is an Edosian. That's going to have an impact because the Edosians, of course, have 3 arms and 3 legs. They were originated in the animated series, the Star Trek the Animated Series. They came out in the early 70s. And for a name, this is going to be a 1-syllable name. So 1-syllable name. I'll just make a note of that when we get back to the name generator. So let me just skim here. Why do you step over the station? Blah, blah, blah. Rumble a negative sound. Flying over the controls. Correction. Alright. Ensign X, the engineer, needs a species. So let me roll again. This time I've got a 18. We could go with Xindi Insectoid or Trill. I'm going to go with the Trill. And no offense to the Xindi, but I don't remember. I'd have to go do some research as to what the Xindi were up to post-Enterprise. So I'll go with Ensign X being a Trill. And hey, we should probably find out, are they joined or not joined? So we use the random probability matrix 50-50 to say 1 to 10 they're joined, 11 to 20 they are not. So we'll roll here. We rolled a 4. So what did I say? 1 to 10 they're joined. Yeah, so this is a joined Trill. So I will make a note of that. That should be interesting. And then they are a 1-syllable. Well, actually, let's go with a 2-syllable first name and then 1-syllable symbiote name, and then we'll do all those name generations here in a few minutes. So let me make a note of that. So you were just adding more detail here, fleshing it out. Of course, it's easy on a TV show when you're watching it. You can see at a glance, the characters and probably their species to some extent, if they're non-human or non-humanoid. You can see Vulcans and Trills and any species that has a facial appendage, facial makeup, whatever. It's pretty easy to work them out. But because we're writing out a narrative, we need all this detail in order to put it into the story. So we've got that. We'll need another name. Ship's communication officer. That's another character that we're putting together here. So we need another species here. Roll a dice. And this time I've got a 3. So I could look at an Arbizon or a Barzon. Arbizon or Barzon. Okay. Well, I think both of those are viable Federation species. So we'll go with the probability matrix. 1 to 10 they're an Arbizon, and 11 to 20 they are a Barzon. So I got a 4, so we're going with a Arbizon. So Arbazan, and I'll do some research on that later. And let's give them a 3-syllable name, just for the sake of curiosity. And let me highlight that. All right, so we've got that. We need a name, just the comms receiver. Straight over to the vacant chair source. And make it this rehabilitation center in the system. Detail. Oh, I need to. How many inhabitants are in the rehab center? The rehab center on Tau E that we established last time. How many inhabitants are on that? That colony, that rehabilitation colony? And I'm going to roll a 14. So there are 14,000 inhabitants in that rehab colony. So 14, that's quite a lot. So no wonder this is critical, right? 14,000 inhabitants, comprising a mix of facility staff, support crews, the patients themselves, and family members who wanted to remain close. Wardy muttered a choice-cation expletive and then glanced at the science officer. Status of that sensor palette? Science officer shook her head. Reading a systemic power fluctuation impacting sensor systems. That is something I need to work on here. But first, before I do that, are there any other species that I need? Yes, I need the engineer, because they call down to the engineer. And our engineer is a 1, so that is either a Anar or an Ardanan. So 1 to 10, 11 to 20. Again, this time we've got a 13, so this is an Ardanan. So I'm going to make a note of that. And of course, I have to do a little research after the fact, but at the moment it's not critical because right now they're just in here for flavor. If I start to develop these characters even further, I want a little bit more insight into the species and then the characters themselves. So I'll continue to work on that here pretty soon. That's something I'll do offline. You don't need to sit here watching me use the search engine to look up Ardanans, and what was the other one? The Arbizon, right? So I'll do that later. Okay, and are there any more species I covered here? I think that covers it. Although as long as I'm here, I'm going to start planning ahead just a little bit. I'm going to roll for the random species of the main character who's in charge of the outpost, because like I'm thinking ahead to the next couple of scenes. Eventually we're going to get to the planet, we're going to beam down or land shuttles on it to start helping out with the rescue and recovery effort, and there's going to be somebody in charge of that rehab center and that we're going to encounter and talk to. I should probably figure out approximately what that person is. Now we already know this is a Federation rehabilitation center, and the lead member of that, or the leader of that effort, or whoever the administrator is or something, is either a Illyrian or a Deltan. Oh, those are some great choices here. So let's see what we've got. We actually ended up with an Illyrian. Okay. So let me make note of this. I'm going to go back to my note tab here. So where can we put that? We'll just put it in here. So the admin of the rehab center is a Illyrian, and just based on what we know from Strange New Worlds, even though there's not a lot of information about them yet, we know that some Illyrians are undercover as Illyrians and some are out in the open. So is this person out in the open as an Illyrian, or are they hiding it? So 1 to 10 they are out and open, and 11 to 20 they're hiding it. Let's see what we got here. We got a 5, so they are out and open as an Illyrian. Out and open as an Illyrian. Okay, so we've got that detail. Let's go back to the story here. That's all stuff that we're going to start getting ready for. Okay, so now I think we can jump over to the names. That was page 315. So page 315, we're going to jump over to the name generator here. Pull that up, and let me go back up here a little bit, and then we'll figure out what the damage was to the sensor package here. So we're on a medical support mission. I'm going to fix that later. Lieutenant, 1 syllable for an Endosian. All right, so we have a 6. That means the first syllable is going to be a C, is going to be a column C, and then I rolled an 11, 10, 11. C is Piv, P-I-V, Lieutenant Piv. All right, P-I-V, Lieutenant Piv, an Endosian science officer. Works for me. Let me unhighlight that. So had handed them 5 minutes ago. Woody had skimmed the report twice, analyzing the data in order to establish their line of questioning. Woody stepped over to the science officer station. Lieutenant Piv, confirmed starboard sensor palette 132/47 is operating within normal parameters. Piv worked. PIV. And I'm working on my microphone, my apologies. Piv worked the control panel, all nominal. That's not what this data tells me. Please review 48. Piv frowned. Hands flying over the consoles. Okay, let me turn off all this highlighting. Whoop. Don't need that. Correction. Okay, Ensign, 2 syllables for the first name. So that is going to be, I rolled an 8. Looking at the table here, that's going to be sequence B, D. B is a boy, D is a dog. So that starts off with a 5 is AR. So AR, and then 3 is oh, I forgot the sequence. I should have written it down. I'll have to go back and look at it, but let's just go with shoot, you know what? Let me just redo this. I can't even remember. It's been a long week. Let's see. So I want 2 syllables. The symbol sequence, or the syllable sequence, is going to be 3. I rolled a 3, so that's CA is the sequence. And then I rolled a 4. So we're looking for C, which is DAL, D-A-L. DAL. And then we're looking for an A. And I rolled a 2. Boy, I'm rolling low tonight. Looking for A, which is D-E. Dalday. Okay. So this is Dalday, and then I need 1 syllable for this symbiote name, and so we've got 11 and 9. So 11 would be B, and 9 is UX. 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 Dalday Ux. Is Ux a good name for a symbiote? Well, Dax is a good name for a symbiote. So if Dax can be a good name for a symbiote, why couldn't Ux be? I mean, it's a little similar, but that's okay, right? So Dalday Ux is a joined trill. They are our ensign of engineering ensign. All right, I like it. All right. Woody glanced toward Ensign Dalday Ux, the joined trill, occupying the engineering station. Ensign, please call down to, sir, the ship's communication officer, Lieutenant, 3-syllable name, Arbazan. 3-syllable name. Okay, let's go. 3-syllable name starting with 1. ABC. Okay, that's easy enough. ABC. And just in quick sequence here, we're going to do 3, 7, and 16. So 3... So this is ABC, so this is easy. 3 is FI. 7 B is IT. Fiat. And C was a 18? 16. 16 for C. Whiff. E-ite whiff. A8. E-ite whiff. Okay, so let's do Arbazan. E-I apostrophe I-T W-I-F. E-ite whiff. I like it. Let's get some highlighter out of here. And I'll clean all this up later. Yeah, how are we doing on time? How are we doing on time? I don't want to keep this too late, but we're getting close to half an hour, so we're getting close. Promise we'll start. Let's get it wrapped up here. So Lieutenant Yightwith turned away from his station and glanced at Woody. He adjusted the silver comms receiver in his left ear. Priority 1 distress signal coming in. Automated signal. Woody immediately strode over to the vacant command chair. Source? Yightwith glanced at his screen. I make it the Name Rehabilitation Center on Tau E in the name system. So I need 2 more names here. So let's go with 4 syllables. I rolled a 5. So that's BCAD. So BCAD. Let's get started here. 3B is on. C is 16. 16C is whiff again. On whiff. 6 is, what am I doing? BCA. 6A is la. On whiff, la. 14, so this is a D. 14D is emo. Limo. Okay, I'm going to change that to Larmo, Larmo. So I'm going to say this is a person's name. So this is I make it the. Here we go. I make it the Unwith Larmo Memorial Rehabilitation Center on Tau E in the I'm going to just make it up. I'm just going to pick two random symbols, Malibay, in the Malibay system. So that's M-A-L-E-B. Oh, I need to capitalize that. Hold on. Malibay. Darn, I can't capitalize tonight. Malibay system. Woody narrowed their eyes, reviewing their mental catalog for any mention of the center. Federation Medical and Mental Health Recovery, correct? EITWIF nodded. Yes, there are over 14,000 inhabitants, comprising a mix of facility staff, support crews, the patients themselves, and family members who wanted to remain close. Woody muttered a choice-cation expletive, then glanced at the science officer, whose name I've already got. Status of that sensor palette, shook her head, systematic puncture of power fluctuation. Okay, so we're just missing an engineer's name. Okay, so engineer's name, 3 syllables, 19 DCB. Okay, so DCB, just jotting down some quick notes here. First one, 2D is URA, so URA. C, 15C is VED, URAVED, and the last one is a B, and I rolled an 11, so that is EB, VEDIB, URAVEDIB. I love it. I wish I had this tool years ago. URAVEDIB. So the paste tones of URAVEDIB, URAVEDIB are Danon sounded over the comm. Chief for reading a secondary system power fluctuation, any impact to the warp driver engines. We have a distress signal to respond to. A long pause sounded, and the chief said no. Blah blah blah. Woody shut down the comm line and glanced toward the helm. Ensign knew another name here, so we need. Oh, did we not get a species for the ensign? All right, we'll have to go back and get that later. Species. So we'll do that, but we can get a name here now. So let's do a 3-syllable name. 3 is going to be CAB. You can see this is a lot of names, right? You got a lot of characters, you got a lot of names, and if you want to just randomly roll them, it'll take a little bit of time, but it'll be worth it because this is the first episode, right? We're building this crew, and barring any surprises, this crew will be around for multiple episodes, so it's important to get all this world building figured out. You know, if you're writing short stories or novels or something, you're doing all this world building anyway because you've got to make all these characters that your main character can encounter and interact with. So CAB is my my progression. So I'm looking for 11C, and that is PIV, PIV, 18. So this is A or 18A FO, PIV FO, and we're looking for B14. Bingo, UF. PIVFOF, PIVFO, PIVFOUF, PIVFOUF. PIVFOUF. Okay. Where are we? This is the ensign. This is the helm officer. Yeah. Ensign. Actually, I'm going to go PIFOF. PIFOF. Is that close enough? PIFOF. Species, and I better just get that species now, otherwise it'll bug me. So let's go back to 100. It's actually 90, here we go. Yeah, page 93. So these two species charts, let me just roll here real quick. We're looking at 17. So it's either going to be a Zindi arboreal or Tholian. Neither of those work. Not in this time frame. Let's go to try an 11. Riemann, that's not going to work. Or a Horta. Do I want a Horta? Helms officer. Hell yeah, let's do it. Yeah, P4F. Horta Helms officer. IDIC in action right here, folks. Horta pilot of a ship. There you go. Land, of course, the Tau E, best speed, right? Yeah, I was having fun. I was having a little fun because my character's occasion. Kazinti mix, I will fix that in post-production. I was just having fun. The ship's chief helm officer, Lieutenant PIFOF, work their console efficiently. They just work their console. All right. Course laid in, engaging warp. Whitey settled into the command chair. The tip of their long thin tail flicking in a mix of irritation and intrigue. All right, so there was one thing that we needed to go back and check on. That was the anticipated damage to the ship due to that malfunction. So we want to go to page 309. 309. And I have arbitrarily decided that this is going to be minor damage to the ship because it's related to that complication that we rolled last time, where we established, we established that there was a complication to a random failure in equipment, ship, or character. I just made the executive decision that it was going to impact the sensor system, and then, unless I rolled it, I don't remember now. Maybe I rolled it. No, it's fine. And so I want to roll on the minor damage chart just to get a sense of like just how much damage are we talking here. I rolled a 6, so that's a strained power network. Well, that totally works with what I was thinking of doing anyway. The ship's EPS grid is not functioning at 100%. Until repaired, the crew cannot use the ship to attempt any tasks. Oh, brutal. Okay, so the ship's not going to be helpful, so it's going to be all up to the crew to manage the... Wait. Cannot use the ship to attempt any tasks. Oh, meaning, you know, mechanically, we're not going to use the ship's statistics. Minor damage, strained power network. So that being said, that's a slightly more significant issue than what I was anticipating. So I will amend the text down here a little bit. It won't change it too much. It'll just, you know, emphasize the drama. And I've got all the names in there. I will revise what the actual damage is. We'll revise all these species and stuff a little bit. I'll put the names in correctly. And then I've got, so this is really my first, this is really the first scene here, right? This is the teaser scene. We got the first officer's log. We've got the setup. We kind of introduce what was happening, but then we've got the stakes are changing because instead of going to a second contact right away, all of a sudden we're being diverted to a rescue mission. And let me close that up. We're starting to flesh out our crew now, which is exciting. I'll probably create a crew roster here in the coming days, just as another document here in probably in my research. I will add that. In fact, I'll add that right now. I'm not gonna write it. I'll just add a text file to be crew roster, so that I don't forget later. All right, so now we got our crew roster starting to be built by all these great names and species. That's always a useful building block when you're first starting out your campaign, or you're doing some writing. You're starting to build out your story Bible or your series Bible. We can talk about that in the future. So anyway, I got everything I need, and then what I started to do is I started to build out the outline of what I know is coming next, right? Like just logically what happens next. We're gonna, you know, this would be the we're warping into space. Warping is a great way to cut scene. So we would cut scene. This would probably, if this was on TV, this would go to the theme music, right? And then we would cut out of that into the next scene, whatever that next scene is. Possibly the captain arriving and we bring the captain up to speed, or we just cut straight to the ship breaking out of warp and sliding into orbit of Tau E. That's probably where I will go, and just assume that the captain has been brought up to speed. Then we'll probably attempt our first task to see what's going on. Of course, that'll be a character doing that task, probably my character, or maybe I'll just, I can't have the ship roll for it, right? Maybe I'll just rely on the NPCs to do it, or maybe the first officer will take it upon themselves to do it. Of course, it's all about my character anyway, so I should probably do that. And then we'll do some probability matrices about, are the pirates still in the system or not, because that could be a factor here as to the urgency of beaming down landing parties or sending down shuttles to render aid and assistance. We'll have to see what that looks like. But let me check the time here. We're at 40 minutes. Darn it, I tried not to do it over 30 minutes, but I couldn't do it. So, all right, anyway, so hopefully this has been useful. What we're doing here is adding more detail, adding more texture to the story. You can see I've got the captain's, the first officer's log, and the first chunk of story here. We're starting to build this narrative, and I'm going to stop here. Hopefully this is useful. Next time we're going to actually get to the planet and start rolling some more dice and start checking off those deltas, right? If you look at the where's the mission tracker, right? We're getting ready to go into the mission tracker here, and so we're kind of on. I can't really count this as the first scene because there was really nothing in here to roll, right? So I mean, I could call this scene a success, but that just doesn't feel right, because this is just like moving the story forward. So you know what? Maybe I'll review the notes that we made. I'll review the chapter about writing out your adventure, and just see, like, can I really check a box here and call this scene complete or not? Maybe I would just mark it and say I've completed this scene. Not so much I've succeeded at it, but I've just completed it. I mean, that's just something to think about. But I'll play with that later. But in the meantime, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you're enjoying the continuing story of Commander Woidy and the crew as we start working our way into this first episode. I hope you've had an opportunity to pick up Captain's Log and that you're enjoying it and playing with it. I've seen a lot of favorable commentary online about people trying their own stories and their own adventures, and I'm super excited about that because I can't wait to start reading your stuff. So keep it up, keep having fun. Check back in with me in a day or two. I'll continue this thing, and then hopefully in a week or maybe 10 days or something, whenever Archive of Our Own gets back to me, I'll be able to start posting this stuff up on there so that everybody can enjoy it. I'll put the link in the description once I get it. But in the meantime, any questions about any of this, any commentary about any of this, drop a comment down below. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying this content, and I look forward to talking to you all real soon. So thanks for your time, and be safe and be well.